Atlassian ecosystem from last 5 years and running the ACE chapter from last 2.5 years. I work as an engineering ops manager at 59, and I have Aditya. He's a senior business system analyst at miniOrange, and he'll be walking through us one of their product from the miniOrange on access management and how we can automate and reduce the manual chaos from that. So I'll hand over to Aditya, and then you can speak about it.
All right. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. Okay, perfect. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. I know it's probably been a long day for you guys, and from, let's say, if I talk about Jira terms, moving the ticketing systems or ticketing progress from to do to in progress, and changing requirements, changing workflows, and whatnot stuff. So um, again, thanks a lot for joining the session. So I'll not take much of your time. So yeah, as Mayur mentioned, the session's agenda or the session's name is from how you can move from manual chaos to automated control with secure and audited access management. So kind of think of the session as a hot fix, or kind of like an empty backlog with no technical depth, no ghost tickets, and probably just actual insights. So, in this session, what we'll discuss is that how you can now, obviously, we use Jira, Confluence, Jira Service Management, the teamwork, and all of those products in our day to day lives. So, we'll talk on how Jira Service Management, how using Jira Service Management, you can turn it into your ultimate governance, auditing, and command center. And we'll show you how you can you know take your access request from a messy thing into a high seamless security fortress, so that even your auditing is streamlined. So I have in fact made a presentation. Let me just share my screen. Oh, Liz, you're joining from Los Angeles. That's great. I think it must be what, early morning over there. Okay, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. If you can turn on the presenter mode, that will be perfect.
Perfect. All right. So the session's name is how from manual chaos you can move to automated control with secure and audited access management. So coming to the problem statement is that you use a lot of applications, like Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, etc., and the access is in some way scattered in most of the cases. So how you can streamline those access management and access requests, along with that periodic reviews also for Jira admins, and how to you can streamline that. So before we move on to the actual presentation, let me give you a brief of what miniOrange does. We are primarily into identity and data security. We are a cybersecurity company with 13 plus years of domain expertise. We have around 30 plus customers worldwide, 30,000 customers worldwide, and we have around 40 to 50 plugins on the marketplace, all around identity and data security. And we have worldwide customers. So yeah, that's a bit about miniOrange. Okay, so coming to the main topic. So think of it when you were, let's say, 10 employees, or rather you're part of a small company, growing company, and you wanted access, and probably I think you were just using 5 or 10 SaaS applications. So when you needed access to something, you could just talk to now your Jira or your SaaS admin over there who's sitting right across the table and say, "Hey, I needed access," and probably within minutes your access was approved, and you can start working on things really seamlessly. But when the companies grew, when there are a lot of people, it kind of turns into a chaos. What I mean by that is, when companies grow, you use a lot of SaaS tools, and now that AI is into picture, you use a lot of AI tools as well, like Claude, Cursor, Gamma, for example, for presentation making. So managing access for all these SaaS applications and AI tools as well is a really tedious task for any kind of Jira admin or any kind of security personnel, for example. So and right from from the onboarding process, which is if you have any new hire, to role changes, to offboarding process, there are multiple decisions and multiple points that need to be taken care of, and yeah, manual systems can't really keep up. So if I talk about the real problem statement, a lot of times what happens is that managers, you keep your access requests in, let's say, Slack, email, and DMs, and that, hey, I need access to this particular Jira project. But what happens is that once it's approved by a particular manager, you or the manager have to run after the Jira admin, to provide access. So that's where managers, I feel, that spend 30% of the week chasing different app owners for basic tool access or basic group access or project access, for example. That's where the productivity kind of takes a hit. And also at the same time, what happens is that Slack or email isn't really a right medium for documentation. When you go into your compliance audits, let's say for example your ISO audits or your SOC 2 audits, um, that's a very you know a very messy way to show that that you've given access to ABC person. So that's where the audit black hole is created. And also at the same time, what happens because of manual process is that there are security breaches wherein orphaned accounts aren't really taken care of. And at the same time, in some cases I've seen or rather heard from customers that we have given elevated access to a person, but we had given them for 1 week, but the access hasn't been really revoked, or it hasn't really been taken care of. So that's something again where it creates a whole different problem altogether. And how can we not talk about AI? So I mean, with Rovo into the picture, you can make a lot of Rovo agents. I think it's also been integrated into the standard plan now, I think post Teams 25 Europe. So what happens is that you can create a lot of AI agents, which is really good. It is really good for productivity. It's really fast. You can integrate all of your other AI agents into Jira and Confluence as well. Like you can integrate your Claude AI agents into Jira and Confluence, automate stuff, and it's really cool. It really does the work. It takes things fast. But what happens is that the AI agents security is somewhere takes a hit. What happens is that AI agents have a lot of access to data. They have access to whole data. But take an example wherein, and for example, an AI agent leaks the data. What happens then? Whose identity was used, who approved it, what data was leaked. It's not really audited, really. And also at the same time, you can't really pinpoint on which, who was the culprit. There is no accountability basically over there. So that's where somewhere I feel that agentic identity is kind of a blind spot where they have every access policies and they kind of violate every access and security policy as well. So this is something where AI agents need to be kept in check, at least in today's day and age, where there's a massive use of AI agents and also AI tools. So, talking about access management and access reviews, Jira Service Management itself is can be used as a tool wherein you can, in fact, Jira Service Management have their onboarding and offboarding processes that they have certain templates where you can give, you can set kind of some to workflows for the onboarding processes. So it's very clear that JSM is as a ticketing tool, it grants access first, but what about the auditing part? That's something that really needs to be taken care of. For the example, like I mentioned, the SOC 2 ISO audits require weeks of detail audits. In fact, I can tell that even we are going through the ISO audits, and we have to, in the ISO audits, we have to show some 3 or 4 months of detailed backlog audits, and to show that who has what access level, who approved it, was it revoked, was it taken care of, etc. And To some extent, I think that Jira's native logs are too high level, and they can't really satisfy the audits, is what I feel. And also, with row AI agents, I'm not really sure how the row AI agents audit logging works, and is it even really in that particular space where they can satisfy the auditors in that case. And if I talk about some real world access issues, so there was one of our government customers where what happened is that they requested access for Launchstockly, which is kind of like a tool, um, and it took weeks to fulfill. So they had multiple approval layers. So what happened is that it took around 2 to 3 weeks to just get the access and to just get things running, and that's what kind of causes the bottlenecks. There are a lot of onboarding delays. There's a lot of there's a loss of productivity, and the manager has to again continuously run after the SaaS admin, or for the in case of multiple approvals, they have to run after each other to provide the necessary approvals, and it really kind of led to a bottleneck wherein they couldn't really get access, and it was just a delayed onboarding process. uh, that talks about onboarding. And with Cisco, what happened is that a former engineer, so he left Cisco, but he still retained access to AWS access machines, wherein he still had access. The offboarding process was not really taken care of, and what happened is that he was able to put some kind of malware into the EC2 machines, and that costed Cisco around $2.4 million in remediation costs. So again, it tells you that how you really need to take care of the onboarding processes, the offboarding processes, even for that matter, if you want to take any elevated permissions. For example, if a manager is going out of leave and they want to take care, but the work doesn't stop over there, so you give an elevated permissions to your subordinate for let's say a week, but still you need to take care that the onboarding process is done on time, or the elevated access is done on time. He gets an access within, let's say, minutes, and then after a week, the access is revoked. So you need to make sure that the access is revoked. That's something that many companies kind of face issues in doing that. So, talking about the solution, so what you can do is you can use Jira Service Management itself as your governance commander, and where a plugin comes into the picture is that you can. So the plugin name is called as Application Access and Governance Workflow. So what you can do is that you can streamline the access request, wherein you can provide an internal or probably also an external centralized portal for all the applications. You can integrate Jira, Confluence. Also, we have integrations for AWS, GitHub, Salesforce, for example. So we have integrations. So we have heavy integrations with all of those SaaS applications. And what you can do is that you can streamline all those access requests into a centralized portal where employees can raise consistent requests, and wherein you can raise. We also, in fact, integrate with all the HRS portals as well. Like for example, Bamboo HR, Workday, Zoho is also lined up. So we also integrate with all the HRMS applications. And what it basically does is that the employees or the HRs can raise consistent requests for onboarding processes through just a centralized portal. Or in fact, you can also, if you want an elevated access, for example, if you want to access some kind of privileged resources, you can also do that via that centralized portal. And through the smart workflows, we can, with the help of a plugin itself, you can set some kind of smart workflows wherein you can route these specific requests to specific managers. So for example, the engineering requests are directed to the engineering manager. The requests for someone like a salesperson are redirected to the, if you want access for whatever SaaS application that you use, for example, Salesforce for sales, CRM platforms and everything, they are routed to the sales managers. Then the documentation part of it are routed to the content manager or the whoever manages the documentation part, and so on and so forth. So again, routing the right access request to the right particular manager is really important, and that is what you can achieve with a plugin. And you can set some particular workflows. And what happens is that when your manager approves the particular request, that yes, you can get the access. The particular user is automatically provisioned. So we uh, the access is automatically provisioned upon the approval, and the user can get access on the fly. That's how it is done. And at the same time, we also see that all of these requests are fully audited, like who raised the request on, or for example, if an HR is raising a request on someone's behalf, that is also audited. Then who approved the request, when was it approved, and when was it granted for each application. And even, for example, if you want to have privileged identity management, or PIM, for example. So you can also do that if you want to raise any elevated access, for example, like I mentioned, AWS instance for a week. That is, you can also do that with the help of a plugin. And the scheduler also runs on that behalf, wherein the week's access is provided, and automatically after 1 week the access is revoked. This is what, with the help of a plugin, you can achieve. I hope the pace is good. Um, any questions till now? Or should I move ahead?
I don't think so. Any questions?
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Moving ahead. So, why? So, what kind of benefits do you get, or what kind of things that you get? So, first of all, the requests are standard, wherein the requests are raised, they're approved, granted, and everything is audited. Um, More likely, the most important part is that the productivity surge. So, as you can see via this graph, how long you can. The manual processes take around 3 to 5 days, so that to get things running. But with the help of the JSM automated systems that we just talked about, with JSM using as a platform, and with the help of our add-on as well, the access is done within minutes. So that's how, you know, so for example, if a new employee joins, within first day he can get things running. So that's how quick it is. It can get. Also, at the same time, secure offboarding. So whenever someone leaves, his access is instantly revoked across all apps, with proofs, with audits, everything audited. So that's really secure. Privileged identity management. That's what we discussed about. Vendors or other employees getting elevated access. For about a week or so. Time bound access, time bound can be anything, be it 1 day, be it 4 hours, be it 2 weeks, for example. It can be anything. That's completely up to the customer, or the particular organization, or the manager for that matter. And it automatically gets expired after the end time, or the end date. That's all been taken care of by the add-on as well. And like I mentioned, everything is audited, so you can instantly generate reports showing who approved the request, when was it approved, why, with the description, everything. So everything is audited and done. So those are the kind of advantages or the feature sets that you get with the help of a plugin. So let's look into how a plugin actually works. This is something like a basic workflow that we have designed. So, for example, if a user submits an onboarding request in the JSM portal, the plugin auto assigns the approver. So for it, you can do it based on the roles. So again, like we discussed, for example, all the software developers or all the software engineers, the roles or the assignees are automatically, or the tickets are automatically redirected to the engineering manager or director. These, for the salesperson, they're redirected to the sales manager. For the documentation or for the testing, they are automatically redirected to the quality and testing engineer or the manager. So you can set the approval, the appropriate workflows as on how you require it. That's completely up to you. And when the approver reviews the request, and after the after the trigger is set. So for example, if you have, let's say, and you approve the particular request, automatically within probably seconds, the user gets the app access and he can get things running. And also at the same time, an email is sent wherein saying that, hey, you've got the access, and everything is logged within that particular Jira ticket. And if an access is denied, then straight there and then the request is closed, and the both the user and the particular manager gets the particular notification. So yeah, that's how the workflow works. This is a basic workflow. You can obviously streamline this or detail this as per your requirement. So I'll just shift my. So I'll just show you a proper working demo. Just 1 second. Any questions so far? I hope the pace is good.
This is awesome. I know that Atlassian right now, Jira and GitHub, which are really commonly used together, are experiencing or had experienced a platform as a proxy attack in the last month that used notifications for this. And your app is an excellent solution for this. It's lightweight, it's not pulling a lot of compute, and it's blocking bad actors that should be blocked in condensing. You're containerizing a lot of the tickets and stuff that are the cause of that. So this is awesome. No questions. So Austin sees as a solution for an immediate problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the feedback. Anyone else? Any comments? Any questions? All right. I guess we can get things moving forward. So this is how the app looks like. This is an add-on or marketplace add-on, which you can get on the Atlassian marketplace. I'll just send the link in a short while in the chat box so you can have a look at it. So what you can install the app, you get a 30-day trial license. So everything is done. So you can test out the particular plugin for 30 days, and we can also extend the license as and when needed. So okay, talking about the plugin in detail, what it does is that we have this governance dashboard where you can view the tickets which are approved, which are declined, which are the pending requests. So you can set particular the statuses. So for example, if you want to set the status that if it's in review or if it's in progress, when to hit that particular API call to the particular SaaS application, to get provision. So you can configure it as and when you required. So currently, you can also see that I have connected 3 applications. So one is for the HR team and one is for Okta. The second is for Entra. So we also have tons of other applications. Secondly, you can see that we also support time-based access insights. So if there are any, like I mentioned, you can raise requests for a week, a day, maybe 4 hours. You can do that as per your requirement. So it also shows that if there are any active temporary access requests, if the expiry rules are pending, if any rule is particularly violated, we can also show that, and how many rules are being scheduled or which are to be revoked. So we can also show that particular insights. And we also show some kind of provisioned failures. So if there are any rules that are broken or if there are any provision failures, we can also show that, and so that you can particularly fix those kind of workflows or issues instantly. So this is what our dashboard, how it looks like. When I go to app connections, I've currently configured 3, which is Bamboo HR, the HRMS system, the Entra, and Okta. If I go into each particular connections, this is how many connections that we currently support. So we support Okta and Entra as the 2 main identity providers. Then if I go into SaaS applications, you have your GitHub, Zoom, Bamboo HR is kind of like an HRMS system again, also AWS. So these are the basic integrations that we currently support. We also have a ton of applications integrations that we are upcoming. So Salesforce is one of them. HubSpot is another one. Then at the same time, what we're doing is that we are also getting granularly into each and every application. That's what we are planning for. For example, in AWS, what kind of resources, what kind of access packages that you want, even in Intra ID. So that's how we're planning that you can particularly request a certain access package or a certain resource. By resource, I mean it can be anything. It can be a role, it can be a group, it can be, for in case of AWS, it can be an EC2 instance. We are kind of working on that, and that will be released in some time. So this is what our integrations, how our app connections look like. If I go into automation, you can set tons of automations. So you just have to create a click rule, and this is what we currently support, which is, so access management. If you want to manage some kind of access requests, reviews, and certifications, we help that. In terms of identity lifecycle management, that's where the onboarding and offboarding process is handled, wherein if any HR can raise an onboarding request that, hey, for example, an employee is joining on Monday, they can straight away raise a request, and that, hey, on Monday he's joining in, let's say, in an SD1 role, and he needs access for whatever SD1 role has, for example, Bitbucket, GitHub, Jira, Confluence, for example. All of those basic access levels need to be provisioned, and that's when on Monday automatically the set scheduler will run. So that's all taken care of. So you just have to raise a request. The manager probably will review it, approve it, and on day one, straight away the access will be provided to that particular user. And offboarding as well. So for example, in most of the companies, what happens is that you have your notice period set of 30 days or 60 days, for example, and once it is approved, the notice period is approved, the HR again can set the particular day that, for example, on the 30th, if any employee is saying bye to the company, they can all on the 30th of April, all of his access will be revoked instantly, and he cannot access any kind of application resource or any of that stuff once he leaves the company. That's something that we also support. And again, automation and governance, policy enforcement. If you want to set some kind of policies, compliances, governance, we can help you do that. When I go into role catalog, so this is basically what kind of rules that you want to set. So for example, if you want to roll SD1 or SD2 or any kind of role for that matter, you can set that. We have tons of, these are what the teams look like, the engineering, sales, marketing, HR, finance. So it's a complete all kind of departments, all departments we support. You can do that as well. And again, whatever application access that you have set, you can configure that by here. So currently, like I mentioned, I have set 3 applications. One is the HR, which is the HR, Pampo HR, the Entra, and the Okta. You can set as many applications as you want, and all of those will be visible over here, and they can be linked to specific roles or specific categories or specific departments as well. So this is about the creating the role catalog. And about the auditing, we audit each and every detail. So the issue key, the target user, who requested for which particular role, who was it approved by, the action, the automation, which is onboarding, offboarding, whether it was a success or a failure, and also even if it's time bound. Since now I've created some requests which is permanent, you can also do that. And you can also view details if at what was the start time, what was the end time. So like I mentioned, the access request was raised on 3:32 and the end time was 3:33, which is within a minute the approvers, I got the approval, and that's how I instantly got the request. So that's how quick it is. This plugin can achieve, within minutes you can get the access requests. So this is how detailed it can go for the audit logs. And yeah, you can set all kinds of automation, all kind of role catalogs, everything. So yeah, that's about it for the plugin. I'll switch back to the presentation. Just give me 1 second. Any questions about the plugin? Anything?
Question, Aditya, like how does it, let's say I have a JSM, I have the plugin installed and I wanted to automate, right? How that manages, with my Okta, like how does, like if I'm raising a request for the Okta, right, and I have selected particular team to get the access, how does it handles in the background? Does it creates groups or like how does it handle in the backend?
So how it does that is basically you have separate groups in Okta. So for example, based on the roles or based on anything. So what we do is that we populate the groups. We once you set the integration, all the groups are mentioned in the particular you know, Jira Service Management portal. So once you raise a request, on the request type itself, you can see what kind of group access do you want. So for example, if you want an SD, if you want to be included in SD1 Okta group, you can raise a request for that particular group, and once it is approved, the request is approved. On the back end, the plugin, how it handles is that it automatically provisions the user to that particular group. So be it onboarding processes. So in terms of onboarding, the user is not only created, but it's also included in that particular group. And in terms of elevated access, he is added in that particular group. That's how it handles it.
Okay, and let's say if we have like multiple teams within, like generally I've seen one tool in my previous organization where we had to raise the request in the back, and there was another tool to fetch all the groups, and
Right.
access. Uh, so basically there was a multiple application within that to raise the request, and there is again after selecting the action also, right? So I can select also like maximum days that I need access. So
Right.
you can have in the plugin.
Yes, definitely. So what the time-based access actually does is that you can raise requests for any kind of time. So be it 1 week, 2 weeks, or for a month, and you can also select the particular applications and also the access level that you want. So that the plugin also knows that, for example, hey, it is Entra, it is for the user is requesting for this particular access level, and for 1 month. And upon approval, once the manager approves all the requests and everything, the user is, and after the approval, the user is automatically provisioned into that particular access level.
Okay, and
I hope
where
that
do
answers
we,
your question.
yeah, and where do we set who will approve that request? I mean, who will be the approver for that
You
application?
can set that in the approval workflow. So, in the automation, you can set the particular managers, um, the who from whom it will request to go to and everything. So, it will, yeah, that's how it works. So, let me just share my screen again.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Yeah. So, for example, this is kind of an onboarding rule that I've set. So, inside a project, you can select, your internal project, for example, any kind of onboarding projects. You can select the request types. It can be anything. So, it can be initiate a promotion, or the leave policy, offboard an employee, um, you know, uh, uh, it prepare the employee's first day, which is basically the again the onboarding process. Initiate a promotion, which is an elevated access again. Change the employee status. It can be anything. So you can set the particular request type as in how you required. The mapping. So all the mappings you can do over here: the first name, the last name, the employee type, everything you can set. The access packages also you can set. So what kind of details would you like to change? Would you like to change the department, the group, and everything? And also on the approvals, you can set a particular field, the assignee, and add particular users. So you can, over here you can add the managers. So initially what you'll have to do is that you'll have to create separate rules for separate departments. So for the sales manager, rules will be different. The for the engineers it will be different. For the testers it will be different. So you can put particular your assignees, and that's how the managers can get the request and they can decide the approval process. And also the decision making process. So you can set the trigger. So for example, if you have, if the approval status is, let's say, waiting for approval, or is, let's say, new employee commenced, so that's when the trigger will hit. So once the status is that the new employees commenced, that's when the plugin will automatically provision um, the user to the particular application. And rejected is, obviously, you can set cancelled. So once you cancel that particular request, the user is automatically rejected. So that's how you can set different kind of workflows. You can set different kind of rules, for the onboarding, and even, in fact, for your upgrading process, your access level processes.
Perfect. I think, yeah, we have 2 more people, asking the question.
Yeah,
I think, yeah,
sure.
let's pass to Tiho, if I'm
Hello.
pronouncing correct.
Hi.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fantastic. Thank you
We
very
are
much.
not able to hear you
Okay, let me check.
now.
Yeah, I think I can hear you clearly.
Oh, really? No, I
Progress.
mean, I'm not able to hear Tiho's voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So does anyone?
Still the
I can
same.
hear you.
Yeah, Theo, I think, yeah, I can hear you as well.
Okay, just to ask. Yeah, it's not far away from the previous question, probably. So I saw that you have some kind of lists for approvers and so on. The
Yes.
question is, how static is this list? For example, can it be synced with some external HR responsibilities tools or stuff like this, or even with assets, if possible? Is there
So
any
with
kind?
specific to HR systems, yes. So since we integrate with Bamboo HR, and also we are working on Workday, and so we can sync. So once you do that particular integrations, you can sync all the groups, all the access levels from that particular HRM systems, and that's how once it is approved, you can set the particular rules and permissions as well, permission levels as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, we have a question from Vikram. Yes, Vikram.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. So my question is that, hello, I'm audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So Aditya, my question is that how this is can be integrated with Entra ID?
Okay. So it's a straightforward connection. So if you see over here, you can go to straight away with Enter ID. All you have to do is you have to give a straight connection name. You have to enter your client ID, your token secret, your directory tenant, and the application admin that you want to select. And uh, once you select all these four application, or once you put in all these details, that's it. That's the connection request. Your connection is done. And what it will do is that it will fetch in all the groups from that particular Enter ID, uh, application, and or the Enter ID tenant, and it will show you all the groups, and from that, and then you can, as per your requirement, you can set different kind of groups. So for example, I'll just show you one kind of role catalog automation that I've set. So yeah, in this, so let's take an example I've set for SD1 as Optra. So what I've done is that I've set so if a role name is SD1, so obviously the role category is engineering. So first of all, he can go into everyone, he can go into the particular Okta groups. Then, so you can see over here, all these groups are present in my Okta. So similarly for Entra, you can it will fetch in all the Entra ID groups, and that's how you can set some, you can set the rules or roles based on that.
Okay, so means once this is set, so based on this, we can automatically release that roles also, or
So when you say release that roles, what do you exactly
means basically remove the access.
Yeah, so
If
once,
remove the
in terms of removing the access, what you just have to do is that you have to go to the automation. So for removing the access, you have to create another rule, which is the HR offboarding process. And yeah, once you create or define this particular rule, so automatically the access is revoked. So the HR or the particular manager just has to raise the request, and the access will be automatically removed from all the applications. It doesn't matter if you are an SD or an HR or or an sales manager for that matter. It will remove you from all the group access entirely.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's all.
So just to clarify, so since onboarding is kind of like it's you're onboarding someone new into the company, and it's really important that you give the right access levels to that particular employee. So that's why in the onboarding role, or even when you are promoted and you want elevated access levels, you really need to define what kind of rules that you set, what kind of groups that you're have requesting access to. But for offboarding, I think it's pretty straightforward. You just have to create one rule for offboarding, and once the request is approved and the date is set, automatically all the access that they have or that the particular user have is automatically revoked.
I think yeah. Liz have question. Liz, can you rephrase your question so that will be a bit clear for us?
Yes, absolutely. So it's been a hot minute since I've onboarded folks in bulk in Okta, specifically Okta.
Okay.
I do a lot more intra, and so
Okay.
I remember Okta has SCIM now that you can
Right.
upload bulk, and that way you can put it in your automation. So you
Right,
can
right.
also use SAML SSO or
That's right.
SAML.
Yeah.
So and it automatically updates for you. So I
That's
just,
right.
just wanted to double check I hadn't. Okay, good deal. And say it with me, everyone. Zero trust policy. You want that because it makes it, one, you protect all of your gear, and that offboarding, it happens real fast. So same automation. And I've used miniOrange. I actually recognized your app. It is a good one. Really
Thank you.
easy. You don't make PIM impossible like Azure or Intra does. So no, it's really great. Quick, easy, and it's very light overhead on your admin. So it's a good one. It does automatic everything. No, for sure. And thank you for answering my question.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for the feedback and comment.
Aditya, I have one more question. I know I'm asking too
please.
much.
No,
Let's say
it's
if you, let's say you have integrated this plugin with the GitHub, right? And GitHub has two ways. You have a Teams and you have a repos. And if you want to set up both, right? How that can be handled? Let's say if I need only access to that repo, right? And and another request, I need access to that particular team, right? Which will again provide to a lot of repo access, right? So what kind of, how we can configure such things in this plugin?
So I think so won't be that hard. So you just have to again fill in these details where you can pull in that will satisfy the particular integration, or rather put in the particular integration, and in the automation part as well. You can, so for example, you want elevated access. So that's where the access management part comes into the picture. Where if you, for example, if you need an elevated access to a particular repo, you can do that with the help of privileged access. If you need group membership, for if you want to be included in a particular GitHub group, you can do that with the help of group membership as well. So you can create a number of rules, you can create a number of privileged access, and that's how it will be automated. So it will basically make your process most easier, streamlined, and again everything will be audited.
Perfect. Does it only available for the JSM or any other ITSM tool?
Currently, it's only available for JSM. In all honesty, we are also exploring on how to get things working on ServiceNow. So again, ServiceNow, since it's really big, we're kind of really exploring that. And currently JSM, since we have expertise on Jira and Confluence on the Atlassian ecosystem, so we built it first for JSM. And ServiceNow probably we're just kind of exploring. So hopefully after the research is done, it will be awesome.
Perfect. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in chat, or turn on your mic and ask. Last 1 minute.
I have one. I was thinking of for Mac. one of the worst like integrations I've ever had to do is a Mac Windows mix, and that with Jamf. Does your app also support Jamf, or is that one that's kind of on the back burner?
Not really. So
Okay.
at the moment, we just support the applications. So which is the SaaS applications or the AI tools which are out there.
Okay.
With respect to Jamf and probably the devices, if you're talking about, so that is something that we can explore. So how does the use case or the scenario look like?
Well, we had like 2 users who had to have Windows because they had Windows software, and then we had the rest was Mac, and that's how
Okay.
the setup was. Yeah, and it was now this was a few years ago too, so this
Right.
that stuff evolves, and I'm sure that it's evolved now. I also know that we ended up having to like sacrifice all Jamf and use Duo, I think, which
Okay. Right.
integrated really well, but it wasn't as secure as I know that IT wanted. But
Right.
no, that makes sense that you guys do the app level. So you wouldn't
Yeah.
do Jamf. No, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Anything else? Or shall we move forward? Just last, I think, few slides. Let me just share my screen again. Just share my slide deck. Window. Yeah. Okay. So you saw the plugin. So yeah, thanks a lot for the feedback and the questions. I hope I've answered, and given you the answers for all. So yeah, again, coming to the core benefits and what are the key takeaways from this particular plugin is that, like you saw, you can create n number of rules. So what this rules basically does is that it replaces the admin chase. It reduces the manual ticket shuffling. You can route the particular access request to the right particular manager, and you can ensure consistent workflows. So that's how you can automate things, you can streamline things, etc., and make life easier for a Jira admin, for a SaaS admin, or even for managers for that matter. And also at the same time, it really enhances the security and reduces the privilege. And what I mean by that is that you can gain granular level control over these sensitive apps. For example, your AWS, or if you want to get granular into your Jira projects as well, if you want to have granular control over a particular Jira project, you can, or a Confluence space where you have sensitive information in that, you can also do that with the help of our plugin. And you can automate provisioning, and which drastically reduces the unauthorized access requests or the access risks. And yeah, hyper productivity. So like you I think saw in the plugin, within just minutes, the particular user got the access request or the app level access, and it stops making employees wait for days. And a streamlined workflow means that everything is audited, everything is done, and you don't have to wait for days, weeks, or even for hours for that matter. Within minutes, you get the access and you can get started running by it. So be it a SaaS tool, be it an AI tool, you can automate everything. And what this also does is that it gives total visibility into who has what access. Detailed audit trails are there. Like I mentioned, who approved it, like you saw in the audit log, who approved it, when was it approved, what kind of access level is given. Everything is audited, not only in our plugin, but also in the JSM ticket that you raise. Everything of that is automated. And yeah, the key takeaway is that automation is the cure. Don't think of it like it will kind of yes, that it will reduce your work, but it will make sure that it increases security, transparency, and you have answers to every question that any of your higher management asks. You have answers to everything, and within minutes you can give the answers to the question that they ask in terms of the access levels and the requests. So, and also at the same time, centralized governance is the way to scale. So if be it from offboarding to onboarding, or even for that matter elevated access requests, everything can be automated, everything can be governed, so that it also reduces the risk of failing an audit. So yeah, that's what it does.